Good day, one and all. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode today of Listen, Learn, Grow. I'm so grateful for you taking the time out of your busy day to take the time and come and have a listen to this episode. You'll be glad to hear that today we have another guest, and the guest today is somebody who I've met through networking and through my new business, Leadership Excellence, as we know. David Brown is the founder and the owner of Potentiality Coaching. And he is really working in a space that resonates with me, kind of trying to get the best out of people, get them to see that there's a lot that they have to offer, and talking about tools and tips that he's used and he does continue to use with himself and with people that he works with. So it's a really good opportunity to reinforce what I've always kind of said, in that you've got to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. And we want to talk, myself and David, around loving yourself, but not in an arrogant way. So if you want to get involved with the podcast, you can do so on WhatsApp on 07925 136 011, or you can email on info@leadershipexcellence.co.uk. And as we know, excellence is spelled EQ. But for now, let's jump in, let's have a listen, see what we think, and then we'll go from there. Excellent. Thank you very much, David. It is amazing to have you here for this episode of the podcast, and I'm so grateful for you taking the time out of your day to actually come and record it. So thank you very much for being here with me today. I'm very grateful.
Great. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to it.
Nice. Excellent. Well, I would say let's kind of jump into it. I've got some questions that I'd like to ask, but as you kind of know, having listened to the podcast, it's about kind of conversation and just kind of where it goes from there. But I have done research on your website, research on you to kind of help with this podcast, make it flow nicely. And one thing I've noticed is that you talk a lot in your website and in the discussions that we've said about being the best version of yourself. And that's something you're kind of key with yourself and with other people. Why is that? What's the big thing for that?
I was speaking with a client a couple of weeks ago, like just having a catch-up call. She and I stopped working together a couple of years ago, probably, maybe even longer than that. And she said that she was looking through videos of her accepting awards, going up on stages, and um, watching herself on stage, and she kind of felt mesmerized by it in a way.
Mm,
And she was thinking, like, what, why is that? And then she realized that these are her words, that she'd fallen in love with herself. Like
okay.
she had managed to cast aside a lot of the, like, I'm not enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy. So many of those really, really deep-seated beliefs that almost all of us have to some
Mm,
degree. And it's not bad that we have them. It's just that when those beliefs unconsciously run the show, it becomes very, very, very difficult for us to live the fulfilled life that we want.
mm,
So this notion of being the best version of yourself doesn't mean that you have to get rid of these beliefs, although I think over time those beliefs lose their grip and they lose their influence.
mm,
But that to be able to lovingly accept and to compassionately forgive yourself for holding that belief about yourself and allowing that belief to hold you back and
mm,
stop you from being that best version of yourself. If you can do that work, which this woman really has, like
mm,
she was really committed to it, then the possibility of falling in love with yourself becomes like it really opens up for you.
mm,
And so my understanding of this expression, I've fallen in love with myself, is not a kind of narcissistic, oh, I'm so wonderful, but it's
mhm,
just this
mhm,
acknowledgement of, you know, I'm a good person. I'm trying to do good things in the world. I'm trying to make a difference. I'm trying to grow up. I'm trying to um, have loving relationships and grow my kids up to be valuable contributors to society. I'm trying to improve the world in some way uh, when I'm gone compared to how it was when I arrived.
mm,
And so to be able to acknowledge that and also to be able to acknowledge uh, I make mistakes, I get things wrong, I don't always show up as the best version of myself. And to be able to just acknowledge that without getting the whips out and, giving
Mm,
yourself a hard time about it, but just be able to go, yeah, like I'm human. I don't always show up the way I want to, and that's
mm,
okay. And that we can have enough compassion for ourselves to be able to say, yeah, that's great. I know what I did that led to that, or I'm trying to
mm,
work out what I did that led to that, and I'm going to keep working on having that less and less and less of an impact. And
mm.
then slowly but surely that feeling starts to evolve into, yeah, I'm a good person, and yeah, I am enough, and I am worthy, and I am lovable, and oh, look, I love myself.
Yeah, yeah.
What a gift.
It's
Not just
amazing.
a gift to yourself, right? But think what it must be like as a child to be able to look at your parent and go, yeah, my mum and my dad, they love themselves and they love me.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, definitely.
they've role modeled to me how to be loving towards myself. And how
Yeah.
amazing to be able to be in a relationship with someone who can allow you to be the person that you are, all the
Mm,
good parts, but also the parts that they're a bit like, I
yeah,
wish it
yeah,
wasn't quite like that. So to be able to do that for yourself, but also to be able to do that for your partner, for your children, for your work colleagues, for your staff, for your boss, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
all of that, it's just so freeing.
It's lovely, isn't it? And if you look at the conditions, the environment that you're able to create, as you say, it kind of allows for that to happen. It's an amazing thing, but it's such a simple thing sometimes, but actually to be able to do it, the impact, positive impact is huge. It's gargantuan, but people don't always kind of see that because they see extra work that they've got to put in.
And there is work to be done
Hmm.
without a shadow of a doubt.
Hmm.
My my particular belief was I'm not enough.
Hmm.
And it's taken me some time to keep reminding myself, you know, to forgive myself for that judgment.
Hmm.
And slowly but surely, a little bit like a block of ice melting, it
Hmm.
gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I don't know, maybe one day that thing will disappear and I'll never ever have that thought again. But I'm
Do you want
okay.
that? Sorry to interrupt you there, but just out of curiosity, do you want that? I mean, I think there's always an element where actually we need to be kept on our toes. And I'm not saying that to have that thought of I'm not enough, it's unhealthy. And as you're saying, it's about kind of working on that. But I always believe that a lot of people will say, for instance, that they're their own worst critic.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really bad saying. But actually, what I say is the process in itself isn't a problem. But what
Mm.
you need to be is your best analyzer. So you look at the pros and the cons. You don't just look at the negatives. So to me, I would kind of question or ask you, do you think it should be
Yeah.
gone completely, or should there be a little smidgen left just to keep you on your toes?
I don't think it needs to go completely, and I also
Mm,
don't think it has to be there.
okay,
So
nice, a fair
and
shout.
that's not, and I'm not copping out on the answer because I actually think that both are true,
Yeah, of
right? So
course.
it can be there and it can
Yeah,
also not be there. And the reason
yeah,
that I say that is because if it's there, then it's there.
yeah,
And we
yeah,
have
yeah.
to learn to be able to manage the beliefs that we have.
Mm-hmm.
We need to
Mm-hmm.
be able to work with the conditions that are around us and within us. We need to be able to do that and still
Mm,
find ways to be really effective and functional in the world. And at the
mm,
same time, if you didn't believe that you weren't enough, I don't think that did I say that right? If you don't believe that you're not enough. So in other words, if you thought that you were enough, I
mm-hmm.
don't think that that means the end of ambition or the end of growth or the end of expansion or the end of being able to analyze yourself or to see, okay, where can I improve? In actual
Mm,
fact, what I would say is that it increases your ability to do that because you're not wasting any energy on defensiveness. You're not blaming. You're not wounding yourself. You're not trying to find excuses. You're not procrastinating. You're not putting things off. Not doing any of those things, and you're able to just really embrace that notion of I'm being the best version of myself because I feel that I'm enough.
mm. Yeah, yeah,
Does
no.
that does that make sense?
It does, 100%. And I think it is it is about the balance, and you've already kind of acknowledged it's how you use it. It's how
Hmm.
you take it away. It's how you apply that kind of knowledge. And I think that's a really, really good shout. I think it's
Yeah.
I kind of put you on the spot and you said obviously you're not copying out, which you're not in any way, shape, or form, but
Yeah.
there will be people that need that kind of element to run with. They need that kind of drive, but there are other people that really don't need that or don't want that. And it's about you said about falling in love with yourself. It's about knowing yourself, actually having that respect enough for yourself that you're able to get to that point. And I think that's critical.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think if you do spontaneously arrive at this place where you are enough and that you don't have that worry of I'm not enough,
Mm,
then I don't know, it's beautiful.
mm,
And
mm,
I don't
mm.
think that, like I say, I don't think that that needs to be the end of ambition. I think that that can just be actually the beginning of something actually even more powerful.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
feeling of so in martial arts, what we talk about is this idea of effortless effort.
Hmm.
This idea that the more I relax
Mm,
myself, the more powerfully I can punch, the faster I can punch, the faster I can kick, the better I can move.
mm,
So for a lot of people, that's counterintuitive, right? There's this sense of if I want to punch harder or kick harder or faster, I need to strain myself and push and all of that. And the
mm,
reality is that it isn't like that at all.
mm.
Yeah. And that
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
this sense of and that there's this sense of ease that comes, So the more
Mm.
easeful we are within ourselves, like I say, it just opens up so much possibility.
Love it. It's amazing. It's a great, really great shout, and I think it's such a good way to kind of look at it as well. And I guess you kind of you led me into the next point I wanted to go through again, looking at your website. But earlier you kind of said that your thing, your belief or kind of limiting belief is that you're not enough. I'm not enough. And one thing that I read on the website is that you started potentiality coaching so you could help people transition from being emotionally stuck to
Mm.
reaching their full potential. And I
Yep.
guess really what I want to know off the back of that, and you've kind of alluded to it, but is this something that you've had to work through yourself? And if not, what drew you to that again? Because that transition is a great transition. I think it's really important, but what drew you to it?
Are you familiar with a hero's journey?
Can't say I am.
Okay. So the hero's journey was this path that was it was identified and given a name by Joseph Campbell, who's a one of the big he's one of the big names in the archetype world. He was a big fan of Carl Jung, who kind of came up with this idea of archetypes. Um, and so what he talks about is this idea that a hero is called to adventure,
Hmm.
and they go on this adventure where they discover their skills, they discover their demons, they
Hmm.
learn to overcome those demons, they learn to embrace themselves fully. And then there's this process of return where you return basically back to the village that you left in the first place to
Hmm.
share your wisdom and to be able to positively contribute to the village as a result of all of this journeying that you've been on.
Hmm.
Um, so uh, so this idea of the hero's journey feels kind of instrumental and so filmmakers, book writers, playwrights, they use this formula a lot, right? So
Hmm.
Star Wars is one of those examples. The Harry Potter books, they're all this idea of the hero's journey, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and it's really powerful because we are the hero of our own journey.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we have to be like discontent enough with the way the world is in our village enough to be able to go, okay, I've had enough. I'm leaving. I'm going on a journey.
Hmm.
We have to feel discontented enough within ourselves to be able to go, okay, I need to sort this out.
Hmm.
And so often, so the journey, the adventure, invites itself, right?
Hmm.
And the first few times that that happens, we're often a bit like, I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go on that public speaking course. I'm not going to start my own business. I'm not going to leave my safe corporate job. I'm not going to leave this marriage that I'm unhappy in. I'm not
Mm,
going to move abroad, learn a language, whatever it might be, right? And we refuse the journey. But eventually we go, yeah, okay, right. And
mm,
we go off, we leave the village, whatever that village might look like. And then we go on this journey and we meet our mentors, we meet friends, we also meet uh, the enemies, the people that are trying to trip us up. We meet our dragons, we meet our demons,
mm,
and we learn to be with all of that.
mm,
And often in the hero's journey, it's referred to slaying your dragons, but my belief is actually we need to learn to befriend them.
mhm,
So any of the doubts that we have about ourselves, like I'm not enough, any of the insecurities that we might hold, we actually need to learn to embrace them.
mm.
Yeah, like the Hydra. Yeah, stop cutting the heads off, right? Because there
Yeah.
are more heads that grow every time you cut the Hydra's head off, right? Right. You got to
Hmm.
learn
Hmm.
to actually be able to befriend it so that it no longer is a threat to you.
Mm, mm,
Yeah. And then, having done all of that work, now there's this return to the village, which we also resist. Yeah. I don't want to have to go back to that bloody village. I don't want to have to teach these people, I don't want to have to teach this. I don't want to have to role model this. I don't want to have to show other people the path that I've been through. Yeah. But eventually
mm.
we realize that actually that's what completes the loop.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my journey has been one of yeah, not being, not feeling like I'm not enough. But there's also what has kind of come with that has also been this like real emotional numbness, not being able to express my emotions, not being able to feel my emotions. So there's been a lot of numbing. But I've been on this journey of opening up that the feelings and sensations and learning to
Mm,
understand what they mean and being able to articulate how I feel and be able to listen to other people when they talk to me and learn how I respond to that, like often, taking it personally and learning how to not take it personally.
yeah.
Again, hearing criticism and feedback and not taking that personally, being able to really hear it as a gift.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And even if someone is taking it on and saying, doing it because they want to be unkind, you can still learn to take that on as a gift. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you've done the work, right?
Mm,
So yeah, so I went on this journey and I've got to a point now in my 50s where I can go, okay, I can take this back to the village and there's stuff here that I know that I can teach because I've lived the experience. And
mm,
I can walk alongside people on this journey because I have my version of it. Your
mm,
version's going to look different because everyone's version looks different.
of
But
course.
but I can walk alongside you through your version of that and
Mm,
support you when you need the support and celebrate you and champion you when when the time for that is, and
mm.
to sit on the floor with you when you feel like you want to give up and you don't want to carry on
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
because you will get up because we
Yeah.
always do.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Do you know, I read somewhere, I think it was John Maxwell ages ago. I was kind of reading something and he said that when you fail, when you fall over, is actually just stay down there for a minute or two and pick some good bits up because people drop
Yeah,
bits, you get good stuff when you're at that level, you're almost at a point, as you've already said, that you can reflect,
yeah,
there's things to learn from that opportunity. And it's again how you take it and how you run with it that makes that difference.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. So with that, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's a personal story for yourself, but that hero's journey, you explaining it that way, obviously it makes perfect sense. I can see it in everything that you kind of look at from books and everything else. But Do you use that kind of consciously, whereby you speak to your clients, speak to your people, and kind of introduce them to that and almost tell them, so going from this emotionally stuck to reaching your full potential is the journey, here's the hero's journey. Do you kind of use that analogy, that metaphor, so to speak?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes that resonates.
Mm,
You know, I'm in a conversation with someone and I get the sense that, yeah, the hero's journey is the thing that is going to resonate. Other times it's a personal story. Other times it's talking about someone else. Like I've got a particular client right now who's into technology, and his kind of great mentor in that is Jason Huang, who, yeah, Jason, yeah, Jason. Anyway, whatever his name is, I think it's Jason Huang, and he's the CEO of Nvidia, one of the biggest technology companies in the world. And I'm
mm,
constantly referring back to this guy because this client really looks at this guy as a, as a role model, and I
mm,
purposefully pick out lines that this guy says,
mm,
because I know that they're going to really resonate for him,
mm, mm,
So yeah, there's no formula to any of this. Even the hero's journey itself isn't really, a formula. It always looks
mhm.
different. It
Yeah, yeah,
always
of
looks
course.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, nice. I like it. I like it. I think it's a great way to frame it. I think it's a really good way to kind of do it. And it gives that context. It gives people that ability to visualize it. As you said, kind of Harry Potter, Star Wars, you see that journey, you see they've gone through it and they've come out the other end where they help and support and go back to the village, as you say, and share that experience. And I think we can almost kind of we can almost relate that to ourselves as well. And it's being able to see that, I think, is fantastic. So I
How do
love
you
it.
mean relate that to ourselves?
Well, it's the sense that you can almost see that. So if you understand the hero's journey, then you can
Hmm.
almost see that within journeys that you've had within your life, whether that's learning a new skill or going to do a qualification, starting a new job. You've gone through that hero's journey in your journey, so you can see it. And it's if I've done it there, because I always try to say to people is that if you step out of your comfort zone, it's going to be difficult because it's you stepping out of it. But actually, when you do step out, things become easier because you're practicing, you're kind of understanding it. And what you've got to do is you've got to look at it and say, well, this isn't the first time I've stepped out of my comfort zone.
Hmm.
And actually, it's a case of looking back when you did it last time and how that impacted and how it worked. And it's
Yeah.
the same with the hero's journey, is that you can see where you had that hero's journey beforehand, and then you can almost contextualize it related to yourself again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that all I'd say around that is, often it in our modern world, the hero's journey is seen as, like a journey of conflict and combat.
Mm,
So, if you watch any film, or read any book, the hero is often the one who is, bloodied, you know, dirt all over his face, shirts
mm,
ripped,
mm,
like on his knees or on her knees most of the time. There is this real sense of it's hard work.
mm,
Uh, and often the hero doesn't have the faintest idea of what's going on. They're just, the guides and mentors are telling them what to do, and they're like, "Oh, all right, then I'll do that then,"
mm,
and it's
mm,
like they're kind of going in with their eyes closed. Um, and I think that there is some need for that. But I also think what is really, really important, and this is again back to the slaying the dragons bit, is
mm,
that actually what seems to be missing a lot in the stories is the self-compassion.
mm, mm.
That thing, that quality of being able to actually like mother and father yourself.
Mm. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
and we don't always get great role modeling in how to mother and father ourselves, but if we can learn to do that for ourselves,
Mm,
then that creates a sense of I can stand on my own 2 feet.
yeah, 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 definitely.
And then you can enter into relationships not from a place of dependency where you're leaning
Mm.
on someone and you need them in your life, but that you can actually stand beside somebody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you're with them because you choose to be, and
Mm,
you're with them, they can offer you support sometimes when you need it, but that you're together because you choose to be. And,
mm,
again, we're back to that freedom of, how incredibly freeing to be with someone because you choose to be, and to know
mm,
that someone's with you because they choose to be with you.
mm, mm.
Again, it's a game changer.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Love it. Great shouts, really great insights. And I think these are great things that people can even just start going away and thinking about and
Yeah,
reflecting on, excuse me, and actually just start thinking and implementing
yeah.
at this moment. So I think it's a great shout. I love it.
Mm.
As you were going through that, you
Mm.
mentioned archetypes.
Yep.
Now, I'm very familiar with Carl Gustav Jung. His work around psychology and everything else, and the Myers-Briggs, all of that.
Mm.
But I did read it on your website where you'd mentioned about archetypes and
Mhm.
body, and I know Carl Gustav Jung. I know about him, but I've never heard the phrase of archetypes. And I was just wondering if you could excuse my naivety and just give a bit more information about that, what it kind of means.
Um, yeah, so I've never studied Jung.
Hmm.
When I realized that I was really interested into archetypes, I bought Jung's for Dummies.
Okay.
I bought
Nice.
that book, or Jung for Beginners or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I read it and I couldn't understand it. It was all just like I
Hmm.
don't really follow it.
Mm,
So a lot of my experience is from studying books, studying films, being able to identify them, but also my own lived experience and my own embodied experience. So,
mm,
so let me give you an example. So my first introduction to archetypes would have been in martial arts, right?
hmm,
So you're learning how to defend yourself. You're learning how to fight, how to do combat, to read a room. So you're very, very early on in my martial arts career, I was really cultivating the warrior archetype.
okay.
Um, and then also, as well as that, also kind of cultivating the philosophy that goes with martial arts, right?
Mm,
Which is all about, um, the master lives within,
hmm,
trusting yourself, trusting your instincts, having confidence in yourself to be able to hold the space, to step
hmm,
forward if you need to in a combative or conflict situation, right?
mm,
But that for me, that really cultivates the what you might call the sovereign archetype to get rid of the
hmm,
gender thing, because originally Jung referred to it as the king, because there were all male specific archetypes, was how he
hmm,
did it. Yeah, king, warrior, lover, magician. Um, and then the other aspect of the martial arts that we did a lot of was, there was a lot of creativity, right? So there was story writing and there was poetry and there was trying to find really beautiful ways of expressing ideas.
mm,
So that was really cultivating the magician side of it, and also this sense of spontaneity,
hmm,
this ability to be able to, um, teach martial arts without a lesson plan, to be able to maybe deliver a lecture without actually maybe even thinking about it beforehand, right? Like
mm,
my ability to be able to have this conversation with you at this depth is a direct outcome of working in that magician space where I can be really spontaneous and not need to have a script. Yeah,
mm,
but I can be in that space. And then the fourth archetype would be the lover archetype, which is much
mm,
more about emotion and connection to the earth and uh, really being in tune with your heart space.
hmm,
And martial arts cultivated that somewhat, but then me doing life coaching work. I also I was a listening volunteer for the Samaritans for five
wow.
years. And then also just doing my own work, right, around my own emotional awareness, articulacy, all of
Mm,
that. has really helped to cultivate, that lover archetype as well, right?
Hmm.
So they're the four archetypes. I work with those four archetypes. Like I say, I use the word sovereign rather than the king.
Hmm.
Um, and Carl Jung specifically talked about these four archetypes as male archetypes. Since
Hmm.
then, there have been other people that have come up with more the kind of the female, some of the female archetypes. So they often talk about, the maiden and the mother and the crone, but there's also
Hmm.
the sorceress, So for me, there's lots of crossover. There's lots of ways in which that could all be relevant,
Hmm.
using those four archetypes that I talk about there.
Hmm.
So I learned all of that through martial arts. And because I learned it through martial arts, there was this real sense of I embody it, right?
Yes.
So there's this sense of, I can embody the warrior.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I feel very different. I
Mm.
can hear that my voice is different.
Mm.
Yeah. Whereas when I talk as the magician and it's all much more flighty and light, yeah, and there's
Mm.
kind of like a playfulness to it and a joyfulness to it that feels
Mm.
very, very different, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
want to bring more of an emotional lover quality to this, then, I can really tap into, archetypes like have really, they've saved my life
Well.
because I can feel that they're alive in me and they're alive in everyone.
Mm.
There isn't anything missing. There
Mm.
isn't anything that you need to add. You are whole. And that doesn't mean that you can't improve. It
Mm.
can't mean that you can't be a better version of yourself,
Mm.
but you can be the best version of yourself now. And then I can now be the best version of myself now,
Mm.
and I can keep going, right?
Mm.
So what I
Mm.
love about all of this is that yeah, there can be this acceptance of I'm great as I am, and I also know I can be better.
It's funny. I love that. And there's something because when I didn't mention it earlier, but just you saying that, I feel it's so key is that there's such a difference between confidence and arrogance.
Yes.
And people will often mistake something you've just said as
Yeah.
being arrogant. But
Yeah.
for me, it's not. It's confidence. It's that confidence within yourself. For me, the key distinguishment is if I'm giving opinion, then it's arrogance. If it's only my kind of opinion, then it has arrogance. But if there's fact behind it in the sense of I can see it, it might be my opinion within myself, but if I believe it and I can see it,
Mhm.
that's confidence. And I think it's a real key distinguishment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think opinion's okay, if you
Mm.
if you frame it as, this is my opinion. Yeah, I don't need you
Yes.
to agree. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have to be right.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
this is my opinion. This is what I
yeah.
stand behind, and I think that's really important. But also
Mm.
to be able to say, um, yeah, that was my opinion. But when I listen to what you say, and I go, oh, actually, I hadn't thought of that. There's
Hmm.
no
Hmm.
arrogance in that.
Nope.
There's just
Yeah.
this is my opinion. Oh, and actually, yours sounds better, so I'm going to go with that. You
Yeah,
know.
let's go with it. Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so that freedom, that flexibility, that spontaneity, I think is just essential.
Mm. I love it. That's thank you for breaking that down. It kind of highlights it and it fits into a lot of what I do as well within the insights and other different service animals, Myers-Briggs, but but I like it. I've
Yeah,
never heard of that.
yeah.
Before I ask you my kind of last question, just to bring
Mm,
it to a close, I would just like to thank you for the time you spent with the Samaritans. I know they are a fantastic organization. I worked in the railway for about 5 years or so, and I know
yes.
the work they did there and
Mm,
beyond is amazing. And the fact that
mm,
volunteers like yourself do it, no response necessary, but just thank you for your time to do that. I
yeah.
think it's commendable and it's a great thing that you've done there. So thank you very
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you.
that.
Yeah, thank you. And they do great work. So any,
Yeah.
yeah, any
Exposure is good
any
exposure.
exposure to, yeah, is brilliant. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. So the last question I want to ask, you've
Mm.
mentioned a fair bit about your martial arts, which is amazing. I think it's fantastic. I was an ex-professional basketball player, so I know the need for kind of exercise and everything like that. But
Yeah.
I guess my final question for you is looking at that transition that we've talked about from that emotional kind of blockage, emotionally stuck to their full potential. Do you think martial arts or any form of activity is a good thing to kind of help overcome that?
It can be,
Mm,
and it can also be, um, it can also be a route for that stuckness to be even more entrenched.
okay. Okay.
So if you ever listen to, I think it's the podcast is called The School of Greatness.
We can't direct people away from our podcast, this one here.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
joking.
anyway, but aside from that, can't remember the name of the guy that leads it, but he is I think he's a basketball player,
Okay.
American basketball.
Hmm.
And often the conversations that he has, particularly with other sports people,
Mm,
is the tyranny of
mm,
competitive sport
mm,
and how driven people are, but not from, again, we're kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, not from this place of I'm enough and
mm,
that I have this kind of bubbling over of, wanting to be better and really enjoy, all of that. But from this place of, I have to prove that I'm the best. I have to
mm,
drive. I have to push myself further. Yeah.
mm,
And it causes so much abuse
mm.
to self,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
Mm, mm,
And I think we see a lot of that in sport. I think we see a lot
hmm.
of that in sport. And you certainly see a lot, you can often see a lot of that at school in sport,
Yeah.
parents that drive their children, you know.
Mm,
And I know that it's often coming from a really good place. So this isn't a judgment of that, these people are bad.
hmm.
They're doing the best that they can. They're doing the best that they know how, right?
Mm,
And I think that there is a better way, right? And I think that that better way, again, is can you teach somebody to really listen to their body?
mm,
Can you allow somebody to really be in tune with their emotions? Because I think if you can allow people to do that, it allows them to show up fully.
mm,
And if they show up fully, then there's an ease and a grace to how they perform, how they relate, how they practice, how they uh, how they are on the court, how they are in life, right?
mm,
There's an e and again, I strongly, strongly believe that it doesn't mean that there isn't ambition.
mhm.
Quite the opposite. But
Yeah.
but again, it's not from this driving. It's from this relaxing and then just it's a bit like a metaphor for me would be like the sun just shines.
Mhm.
It's not pushing out rays of sunlight.
Mm,
It's just shining,
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
right? And I honestly believe that we can be the same.
Mm,
If you've ever met anybody who's really got their shit together,
mm,
right? And I've been very, very lucky and met two or three, no, more than that, quite a few people that have really got their shit together. They just radiate power.
mm,
Yeah. And they get shit done.
mm,
Yeah. And they challenge themselves. They do stuff that scares them. They're willing to step into the unknown. They're willing to make mistakes. They're willing to put themselves on the line, but not from a place of abuse, but from a place of I don't actually know what the next step is, but I trust myself enough that I'm going to take it.
mm.
And
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
and I trust myself enough that I'll deal with whatever it is that comes my way.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
that can only come, I think, from a place of love and compassion.
Love it. It's a great way to kind of end it, really. Is that comfortableness to take that step, but the comfortableness within yourself to know that you'll deal with what comes, what happens. But
Yeah,
taking that step, that's the important thing. Taking that step, whatever that step might be, it's about taking that step.
yeah. And to be able to take it, like I say, from that place of, yeah, I've got this. Even if I'm
Mm,
scared, even if I doubt myself, all of that is fine. All of that is normal.
mm,
And
mm.
and I back myself.
Love it.
And that takes us
Brilliant.
full circle, right? Back to my client's conversation that I had a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
She loves herself and she's doing amazing things, stuff
Mm,
that she never
mm.
thought was possible 5 years ago. Um, but she's doing it now.
Love it. The story we need to hear sometimes. I
Yeah.
love that. David, thank you again so much for, as transparent as you are, being as candid as you are, as open as you are. I really do appreciate that. It's brilliant to kind of listen to your lived experiences and kind of how you're helping people, but just giving people those tips to take away, just those little things, just that people can go away and have a think about, reflect upon, work on it. I will put all of your details into the bio on YouTube, excuse
Thank
me,
you.
as well as Spotify, so that if anybody does want to reach out to you, then they're able to do so. All of your bits will be there. But it's genuinely been a pleasure speaking with you today, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Really
Nice.
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Excellent. I will finish it out as I normally do with most of my
Mhm.
podcasts if you've listened to them.
Mhm.
But to everyone that has taken the time to listen today, whether you're on Spotify, whether you're on YouTube, I hope that you have enjoyed listening to the conversation, because it's not just my voice. I know everyone, we've had a year of it just being me, but now we've got other people. It's brilliant to have some different voices, some different conversations. So ultimately, as with anything that we do, we hope it adds value, and we hope you're able to go away and reflect and think about things to work on. But for now, I hope that you keep listening, keep learning, and keep growing. Thank you very much. And David, again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. Thanks for doing the work that you do.
Appreciate that.